I want to talk about non-duality, presence, simply explained. So, they say that non-duality is like just everything that's just non-dual, has no separation, it's just whole. And oneness where the ego is bad and dad, and you must detach from the separation consciousness, which is somewhat true. We are in separation consciousness for right now because that's our brain. And after we're in our body, you know, we decide to leave or whatsoever, then we go to that wholeness. But guess what? That is the source. The source of all that is you know, the point, the top expression of that, the singular point, which is a zero. The higher planes or channels or whatever you call them, that is what it is. But the thing is, you gotta understand that at the end of the day, you have a soul. Your soul came here to materialize and experience, you know, life, which life is really just yin yang, complexity and duality and all that other stuff. It's not really a bad thing because these people, let's say non-duality teachings and presence and all that, they demonize the ego and all that. We have it to materialize, but these things shouldn't necessarily be bad things. These things are to navigate you in this world. That's why you have memory, you have sign language, so you can communicate in the universe, whatever you call it, or the higher source communicates with you. That's why people say you get downloads. That's just what it is. So duality and all these things are not necessarily bad things. These are just forms of expressions to materialize, especially in this physical realm. But that don't mean you just see everything. You don't just got to see everything as separation because everything is dual. If you even look at things on a chemical level, they have probably the same properties. That's why they could bond and create. You know what I'm saying? Just look at how everything was just created and how we reuse and recycle things, because it's matter at the end of the day. And that's what it is. And consciousness is not just necessarily like nothingness, like they make it seem. It's more like spaciousness. It's not necessarily, it's like go into like an empty room. You may not feel like there's nothing inside of the room, but you feel like there's like the volume, it's like it's free. Like it's almost nothing, like, because it's just free. That's what consciousness is. It's like the gap. Because everything in this life or whatsoever creation, this existence has a gap. And the gap is like it's almost not, it's not separating with nothing. It's kind of like parallel with both things. So if you look at everything, it always has a middle side, and that middle side is in everything because everything has a gap. But that consciousness is like the full expression of that, because when you create something, you're gonna need space, you're gonna need, volume. Like in aura or whatever, it creates a space around a bubble. That's what it does. That's what everything does on a chemical level. That's where your consciousness is. But you have to, I'm not necessarily saying tap into it. You have to make a shift to it. It's always there. It's always ever present. That's what it is. It's that full beingness. And it's not that it's nothingness. It's not nothing. It's something, but it's our mind is perceiving it as an object because everything in this realm is just materialized or labeled. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just a object matter that's like higher than the perception of just the state of your mind. That's just what it is. It's just spaciousness. It's just space. It's just it's higher gravity. Like, that's just what it is. You know, if you had that experience as being in a moment where you felt like just very whole, or a sense of nirvana, you're gonna feel it. You feel kind of different. You feel whole, like nothing is dual. Everything is just connected. Like nothing is like not a composite of each other. It's just everything's connected. Even though you don't see the things coming together, you feel it, because that's what things are on a you know, very deep subconscious level. They're enclosed in, you know. Because if you look in a microscope or whatever, you see atoms rubbing against each other. You know, that's the same thing with every material. Of course, it depends on the density of the product and all that, and what rate of change the thing is moving on, but it's still rubbing together, you know, because it's all enclosed and connected. That's just what it is, you know. You got to connect to the source of all that, which is the consciousness, the non-dual state, by just being in a state, you know. It's not even being in your mind. I'm not saying your mind is a bad thing or duality. It's for you to exist and label things. It's your own GPS. Because when you live in the conscious state of duality, non-duality, it kind of sterilizes you a bit. It kind of chills you. So even though your thoughts may come around, or that you're living in that state of non-duality, which it's the gap between both, you know, because you can live in a state of consciousness and still perceive non-duality, because it's not necessarily taking sides. It's just a full space of things. In order for you to do something negative or do something positive, it has to be that of its nature. It can't just mix. If it is, it's going to override one another. Well, consciousness is the underlying space between both. It doesn't matter. It's just a space, you know. I want you to hold a product or whatever, even if it's light or heavy. You feel something. What is behind that is the volume. You know, that's what consciousness is, the volume of things. On a very, very, you know, deep level of it, it's the volume. It doesn't matter if it's light or dark. It's the volume of the layers behind these things, the spaciousness. That is what it is. You know, you can have short glimpses of this experience where you feel like this wholeness, non-dual experience, or long and drawn out ones that last for probably weeks. And it's the same feeling that you feel whole. It doesn't matter if it's light or dark, because consciousness, right, that non-dual state, is just wholeness. That's just what it is. It's a gap. You know, that is what it is. It's like kind of like, think about like water, right? When you have water and you put it in a pipe, it's going to go in both directions. It's going to intersect with everything. That's what consciousness is. It's the intersection between everything. It doesn't care about duality or thoughts. I'm not saying don't stop thinking. Of course, you regulate thoughts. Once you live in that's the state of like non-dual, then it's going to sterilize you. It's going to chill you so that it could be in its expression. It doesn't care about your mind necessarily. You just been at a level of your mind that's just, you know, separation consciousness. You just been at that level because you've been programmed to, and you kind of been tied away from the nature of consciousness. You kind of forgot about it because the nature is still there. You just have to just kind of like align with it, and it would open its, you know, the door to you with the space, you know. Have you opened a door or something, or popped a hole and you just feel the air coming out? Just just everything around it just changed because just the intensity or whatever, the temperature. That's what consciousness is. If you keep just, I don't want to say build it, but just, you know, align it or match with it by its true nature, is going to do that. You know, it's going to build it like an inhaler and is going to expel. And you're going to have an experience because that's what it is. So it's not that it's nothingness, it's just more so whole. It's just kind of space. It's just the way we perceive it. What our mind is like, it's nothing, but it's just more than that. You know, it's the spaciousness. That's all it is. You know, you could say it's closer to antimatter, but it's really not antimatter. Because if that was the case, then your body would decide to give up and just not even exist, because the antimatter, your soul, but you need it to like form, because everything is just not taking form. But that is the higher form of energy, which is a true consciousness, you know, which your soul kind of impartakes. It's not that it's nothingness, it's just, this is what these non-duality teachers say, which don't make sense. You can take on that spaciousness, whether if it's negative or positive, it doesn't matter, you know? Have you ever just sat still or whatever, or you didn't do anything, you wasn't so resistant, and things was just kind of stopped for a moment, or things was just flowing, or you just always know it, or like, you just done it, like you wasn't even trying to think, or life kind of stopped, or things just like kind of flowed. That's what consciousness is. Once you just be in it or whatever, not even thinking too much, it's just going to flow like an instrument. Or you're just gonna feel the silence, and it's just going to like just chill you. That's just what it is.